Hey guys! So a lot of you asked for this actually. I guess that's a little bit surprising. I guess not too surprising because it is a vegan supplement and seemingly a lot of the hair slash skin slash nail supplements are not vegan. A lot of them contain like collagen, or the capsules are made from gelatin, or they have D3 that's not vegan. The D3 in Halo Beauty is vegan. So for those who don't know, Halo Beauty is again, hair, nail, and skin supplement from Tati. She is a beauty YouTuber. She released this supplement, I think 2 weeks ago or so. A lot of people were not super happy about it because, I mean, they were obviously expecting like makeup or something, or maybe like traditional skincare, you know, something external, moisturizer or something that you would put on your skin. They weren't really expecting a supplement, something that you would consume. There's also been a lot of criticism of the supplement, people worried about certain ingredients like saw palmetto, and also people saying that, look, there's no real evidence for this, and it's ridiculous to charge people $40 a month for something that probably isn't gonna do much. So I did pretty heavily criticize the supplement on the YouTube community tab, whatever it is, which wasn't really fair because honestly, I don't know a whole lot about these types of supplements. I've never taken one myself. I've never really looked at the evidence behind it. I've assumed that it's nonsense because 99.9% of supplements claiming to do anything are nonsense. In terms of the saw palmetto, which was the thing that I was most irritated about, which I will get to that later on in the post, but in terms of the other ingredients, I didn't really know, again, much about them in terms of the benefit to hair, skin, and nails. But now I do, because I have spent many hours researching this. Full disclaimer, I'm not an expert, I'm not a dermatologist, anything like that. But neither is Tati. She says she has a whole team of people and scientists behind her, but it's really not difficult to search for this stuff and at least find if there is research for it. You can at least search for yourself via PubMed, Google Scholar, and see if there is at least a study or two on these various ingredients and on the claims that Tati is making regarding these ingredients. She does make a whole number of claims, but as far as the overall claim, I guess, regarding Halo Beauty itself, not just each individual ingredient, she says on the FAQ page that its clinically proven ingredients will deliver longer, healthier hair, stronger nails, and smooth, hydrated skin with diminished lines and wrinkles. Yeah, will deliver? Like that's pretty strong language to me. Anyway, let's get to it. Okay, so there are a lot of ingredients here, and I'm not going to go through the claims made for some of these, for vitamin C, vitamin D, B1, B2, B6, zinc, copper, and manganese, since these can all be found easily in food or even in just a simple multi. For instance, the Diva Vegan Multi, which is vegan, obviously, contains plenty of all of these except for D3 and biotin. So it does contain vitamin D, but it's not in the D3 form, it's a D2 form. And it does contain some biotin, but not very much. Not that this really matters because you can find vegan D3 for like very little money. So you can get a bottle of 60 capsules with 2,500 international units per capsule for less than $9 on Amazon, compared to Halo Beauty, which has 60 capsules as well, but only 500 international units per capsule. Biotin is also very cheap. Again, the Doctor's Best brand. They offer 120 capsules for less than $9, and each capsule contains 5,000 micrograms versus only 1,500 micrograms in each Halo Beauty capsule. Not that you should actually take that much biotin. I'll talk about that more later. So even if you were to buy all three of these, the Diva Multi, the Doctor's Best, D3, and the biotin, you would still spend far less on those three than you would on Halo Beauty. And you'd get a lot more D3 and biotin. Not to mention a lot of other nutrients in the multi, some of which are very important to vegans, like B12. But of course, Halo Beauty contains a lot more than just these well-known vitamins and minerals. It's possible that the remaining 12 or so ingredients in Halo Beauty are just amazing and they totally make the $40 a month worth it. Let's see. So first is Catalase, and this is present in 2,500 international units. And from here on out, when I talk about the amount present, I'm talking about in a serving, and a serving of Halo Beauty is actually 2 capsules. So unless I say otherwise, I'm talking about what's present in 2 capsules. So on the ingredients page, it says Catalase is an anti-gray enzyme. It helps break down hydrogen peroxide produced by our bodies into harmless water and oxygen. It is thought that the anti-gray function of Catalase may be the result of hydrogen peroxide interference with the production of melanin, a pigment that gives hair its color. This does seem to be true in the sense that several studies have confirmed the link between catalase deficiency and pigmentation issues like gray hair and vitiligo, but this doesn't mean that taking a supplement of Catalase, including Halo Beauty, that this would actually prevent gray hair. In fact, I could not find even one study on oral supplements, oral Catalase supplements, and gray hair. What I did find was a study like this on people with vitiligo, but it involved a topical treatment of pseudocatalase, PCKUS, that's activated via UVB light. So it's no surprise that Tati doesn't mention any actual studies here, because there aren't any studies that are relevant to the oral supplement that she's selling. It's also not surprising that her wording is so vague, given that the FTC recently cracked down on 2 other companies marketing anti-gray catalase supplements for saying things like, "Watch your gray go away. Now gray hair can be stopped and reversed." The proposed orders against Get Away Gray and Rise and Shine prohibit the defendants from representing that a covered product reverses or prevents the formation of gray hair. Do I think that the FTC will file a complaint against Tati? Likely not, given that she doesn't really use a whole lot of strong language. Again, the thing I quoted towards the beginning of the video, that was pretty strong. In terms of individual ingredients, especially like this one, she doesn't say that it will do anything. She doesn't say that it will reverse gray hair, which seemed to be the biggest issue for the FTC. But that doesn't mean that her inclusion of Catalase in Halo Beauty is based on any solid evidence. It's not. So next, we have Rosehip Powder extract in 100 milligrams. So like Catalase, this does appear to have some evidence behind it, as well as a mechanism of action. Lab Muffin, which is a blog that's run by someone with a relevant PhD, which is pretty awesome. It's not just someone who's on YouTube making videos. Me, Tati. Yeah, she has a pretty good article on rosehip oil and acne. But of course, that's something that you would apply topically, right? Something you would put on the skin, not something you would ingest. So again, like Catalase, it's not really relevant to what Tati is selling. But this double-blind randomized pilot actually is relevant. So 17 healthy subjects ingested rosehip powder for 8 weeks, and they saw pretty good results, including improvement in elasticity, skin moisture, and crow's feet. However, this is a very small study, and also the participants were taking much larger amounts of rosehip powder. So again, I'm not really sure how that's relevant to Halo Beauty, given the amount of rosehip that's in Halo Beauty. Next, we have MSM. There are 160 milligrams present in Halo Beauty. So it's supposed to make the skin appear more youthful and the hair more lustrous. And it's supposed to contribute to exceptional strength and thickness of the hair and nails. So I found this study published in 2008 that found MSM applied topically to be an effective treatment for rosacea. But again, a topical treatment, not very relevant to Halo Beauty. I did find this one that involved a supplement, so 11 white women ingested MSM for 16 weeks and saw an improvement for crow's feet, texture, elasticity, and firmness from baseline, and improvement in firmness and crow's feet when compared to the 9 women taking the placebo. It's interesting, but as with rosehip that we just talked about, this is a very small study, and the participants were taking much more than what is present in Halo Beauty. As far as the hair claims that MSM adds luster to the hair and, quote, is also known to contribute to exceptional strength and thickness of the hair and nails, I found no evidence for this. For instance, here is a list of numerous studies on MSM. It's actually from a company selling MSM, and they make no mention of MSM in hair. If you are selling this product and you are including a list of all of the studies on your product, I assume that if there is another potential benefit, like involving hair, that there would be mention of that, right? And if there isn't, then those studies probably don't exist. Anyway, I also found this review on MSM supplements. This was published very recently in 2017, and again, no mention of studies on hair or nails. So it may be known to Tati that MSM makes hair and nails stronger and more lustrous, but it doesn't seem to be known to anyone else. Next, we have saw palmetto, 160 milligrams. So this is the one that many people have been worried about due to sites like WebMD claiming that it could reduce the effectiveness of birth control pills. So before we get to that and Tati's interesting response, let's take a look at the claims she makes in terms of potential positive benefits of saw palmetto. So apparently it is a natural treatment for acne and hair loss, and it may lead to hair growth in men and clearer complexion in women. So I did find a few studies on saw palmetto and hair loss, but can you guess? Topical treatment, not oral supplements. Here is a 2002 study involving saw palmetto supplements and male balding. 6 out of the 10 men who received saw palmetto saw improvements, but again, it's a very small study. Here's a larger study, but the participants were receiving double the amount in Halo Beauty. Saw palmetto and acne. In theory, it does make sense given DHT's role in sebum production and saw palmetto's ability to reduce DHT levels, but I found little actual research. The one study I found has little actual relevance to Halo Beauty because, you guessed it, topical application. So now onto the birth control issue and Tati's response. There is no scientific or medical proof that saw palmetto will make birth control ineffective. It is also a frequently used herb found in many other formulas, specifically formulated and marketed for women. Our 160 milligram dose is very low when compared to the 2,000 milligrams men take for enlarged prostates. Not sure what that has to do with anything, but alright. While it's true that there aren't any documented cases of saw palmetto influencing birth control pills, there is a reason why women taking birth control pills and either taking or thinking about taking saw palmetto might be concerned. So most women who are taking birth control pills are taking what's called a combination pill. So we're taking both progestin and estrogen. Those are both in the pill. Saw palmetto may influence estrogen levels, so in theory, saw palmetto could make your birth control less effective. According to Leah Millhiser, she is professor of obstetrics and gynecology at Stanford, I don't agree with the blanket statement that saw palmetto does not interfere with hormonal contraception. Saw palmetto does have estrogenic activity and may affect endogenous hormone levels. And she does encourage using a backup form of birth control, so condoms or something, if you are taking the pill and taking saw palmetto. But according to Tati, there is no clinical evidence, and so saw palmetto is not going to get you pregnant. It's not going to make your birth control not work. But hold on. Isn't Tati's use of the ingredients I've talked about, rosehip, catalase, MSM, saw palmetto, based mostly on theory? Again, I found very few relevant studies, and in some cases, to quote Tati herself, no scientific or medical proof for these ingredients. So basically, when it comes to something positive about one of Tati's ingredients, like catalase potentially preventing gray hair, then in theory is good enough for her. She's actually willing to charge people for it. But when it comes to something negative, like saw palmetto potentially interfering with birth control pills, then in theory is meaningless. There's no scientific or medical proof, and that's that. And this is why we probably shouldn't take advice on a particular supplement from the person who's trying to sell us that supplement. They might be more than a little bit biased. Next, we have Amla, or Indian gooseberry, 200 milligrams. So Tati claims that Amla can help with acne, skin moisture, and cleansing the tissues of toxins. Okay. So most of the studies I found were in vitro studies. I did find one in vivo study. It was published in 2012, but it was very small and it used a topical cream, not oral supplements. Same old story, very little evidence, and none of it really relevant to what she's selling. Next, we have grape seed extract, 60 milligrams. So apparently this is used to, quote, protect the skin from sun exposure and improve the overall appearance of the skin. This does make sense given the amount of polyphenols that are present in grapeseed, but as this recent review noted, the only dermatological studies conducted so far have been 2 mouse studies on UVB radiation and 1 rabbit study on wound healing. Further study is required regarding the protective effects of grape varieties on the skin of animals and humans. So yet another example of, in theory, being totally fine for Tati when it comes to something positive about one of her ingredients. Next, we have pumpkin seed powder, 80 milligrams. Apparently, it can help prevent hair loss and keep skin hydrated. You won't believe this, but I found very little evidence supporting these claims. Regarding hair loss, there is this 2014 double-blind placebo-controlled study. The 39 people receiving the pumpkin seed supplement saw a mean hair count increase of 40% at 24 weeks. The placebo group also saw an increase of about 10%. Not only is this one small study, but it also involves much more pumpkin seed powder than what's present in Halo Beauty. And as far as the skin claims that it can keep skin hydrated, I couldn't find any studies on pumpkin seed extract and skin. So next we have ceramide, 40 milligrams. This is the other big ingredient in Halo Beauty. I believe she said in her 50-minute follow-up explanation video that this is the one that she's most proud of. This is definitely the one that gets the most hype, I guess. Our proprietary and clinically proven Ceramide RX is a phytoceramide extracted from rice. Phytoceramides are liquids that keep your skin hydrated and plump. Ceramide RX has been proven in human clinical double-blind trials to restore and rebuild the outer skin layer, increasing the skin's ability to retain moisture while improving skin smoothness in as little as 3 weeks. It also results in an improved barrier for toxins and other harmful substances from entering the body. Ceramide RX may reduce the appearance of large pores and fine lines. The bottom line, Ceramide RX can do what no lotion or cream can. So that's pretty strong language. Those claims are pretty strong, much stronger than the claims she makes for any of the other ingredients. So let's see if the evidence supports it. So first, let's start with the study that Tati references on the site. This is actually the only study that she references on Halo Beauty. That's not quite right though, because she only includes images. She doesn't actually link to anything. She doesn't mention a study name, author name, journal name, nothing like that. This was actually quite a bitch to find. So thanks for being so transparent, Tati. But I was able to find it. I found it by looking at this other rice-based ceramide, and I went to their website and I noticed that they had the exact same images, the exact same mention of the 23-year-old female, example that Tati had on her website, and I was able to find the study. I think this company actually paid for the study. I'm not quite sure about that, but it's a study from 2000, and I found it cited in this recent study from 2017. Then I found this study with a slightly different title, different authors, and it's published a decade later, but with the same abstract. So what I'm thinking is that this is when they finally got it peer-reviewed and got it published, but I'm not exactly sure about that. In any event, this study is actually relevant to Halo Beauty. Not only is it on an oral supplement of ceramide, but it's provided in the exact same amount, 40 milligrams per day. In fact, I think this is the exact same extract. It's called Oriza ceramide. I think this is the exact same stuff that's in Halo Beauty, but I could be wrong about that. So that's pretty exciting, right? That's a first. Unfortunately, that's where the excitement ends because the study itself is not that impressive. 17 participants received 40 milligrams of Oriza ceramide daily for 6 weeks, and 16 participants received the placebo. While those receiving the ceramide saw slightly greater improvements based on a dermatologist's evaluation, the placebo group still saw some improvement in itching, flush, and even dryness, which is the main thing that ceramide is supposed to improve. Saying that Ceramide RX can do what no lotion or cream can, based on 17 participants improving slightly more than the 16 who were on the placebo, that's quite the stretch. There are other studies on ceramide and skin, mostly involving ceramide in wheat extract, which does contain more ceramide than rice. So I'm not exactly sure how these studies translate to what Tati is selling. Interestingly, a 2012 scientific evaluation on wheat extract and skin dehydration from the European Food Safety Authority concluded that, quote, a cause and effect relationship has not been established between the consumption of wheat polar lipid extract and protection of the skin against dehydration. One reason for this is because the amount of ceramide in wheat extract is tiny. The dose of ceramides and DGDG provided by wheat polar lipid extract is only a small fraction, about 10%, of the quantity which would be consumed in the background diet by subjects eating typical amounts of wheat-derived food products. And again, the rice extract that Tati is using contains less ceramides than the wheat extract. So this study, again, it's on wheat-derived ceramide. It wasn't included in the EFSA evaluation. It did find a significant difference in skin hydration between the women taking these ceramides and those taking the placebo, but only when the researchers objectively measured hydration. In terms of dermatological evaluation and even assessment by the women themselves, the difference wasn't statistically significant. Which I think is pretty important. I mean, if neither you nor a dermatologist can tell that your skin is more hydrated, does it even matter? Here's a study from 2017 on 60 white women. They were randomized into 3 groups. 20 received wheat extract in oil form, 20 got it in powder form, and 20 got the placebo. And again, while hydration increased more in both groups receiving the ceramides, it still increased in the placebo group. Elasticity improved with both active groups, but remained the same in the placebo group. And unlike the previous study that I mentioned, the women themselves did seem to notice a difference relative to the ones in the placebo group. For instance, 70% of the oil group and 60% of the powder group thought the supplements were fairly good or excellent for skin elasticity versus only 10% of the placebo group. But again, this is a very small sample size. 70% of 20 people is only 14 people. So it's interesting. I mean, like a lot of the studies I've mentioned, it's very interesting. And I'm excited to see where the research leads. But I can't imagine having the confidence to charge people money for something like ceramide when the evidence is so limited. So one final thing about ceramides, ceramide levels in the blood have been associated with cardiovascular events independently of LDL. Now, what that means in terms of Halo Beauty, I have no idea. I mean, again, the amount of ceramides, it's only 1.2 milligrams per 2 capsules. Again, you are getting way more from the plant foods that you're eating, but the majority of ceramides in the body do seem to be salvaged and recycled. So maybe a supplement like this could build up levels over time. Our bodies seem to be pretty bad at clearing them out. Again, I have no idea. I just wanted to bring it up, and I'll talk about this a little bit more at the end of the video, because I think we think of supplements, particularly supplements like Halo Beauty that are advertised as natural. We think of them as being innocuous. They're not able to harm us or have any sort of negative effect, which is just not true. Again, I'm not saying that Halo Beauty is harmful in terms of the ceramides. I have no idea whatsoever. But I'm just saying you can't just assume that because it's natural, because it's categorized as a supplement and not a drug, that it's 100% harmless. All right, we're getting close. So next we have Horsetail, 20 milligrams. Apparently it can make hair grow stronger, shinier, make it grow faster. It can even provide protection against several hair problems, whatever those are. I found no studies whatsoever on horsetail and hair. Next, we have Astaxanthin. This is present in 4 milligrams. Apparently it reduces fine lines, increases skin hydration, improves skin tone and elasticity, diminishes freckles, reduces under-eye puffiness. And then she or whoever wrote this just repeated all of that in a second paragraph. Okay. So I did find several small in vivo studies that found favorable results, but they mostly involved higher doses than what's present in Halo Beauty. This one involved less, actually, 2 milligrams versus the 4 in Halo Beauty, but it was used in conjunction with 3 grams of gelatin, so you can't really take those results and say, oh, it's the astaxanthin that did it. It could have been the gelatin. Maybe you need a combination of the two. Again, not really relevant to what she's selling. This one involved the same dosage, 4 milligrams, but it doesn't look very impressive given the small size and the fact that there is no control whatsoever. Also, there doesn't appear to have been any dermatological evaluation or self-assessment, only analyses of skin and blood samples. I say doesn't appear because this is the one study that I wasn't actually able to read. I only had access to the abstract. Thanks, Elsevier. How do you say it? Whatever. Company sucks. I got your name wrong. How do you feel about that? What am I, 12? There's also this study that I mentioned earlier when talking about rosehip. It compared two groups, one receiving the 3 grams of rosehip and the other receiving 4 milligrams of astaxanthin. And it found that both were effective for skin moisture, elasticity, and wrinkles. But again, it's a small study with no placebo group. Glutathione, 10 milligrams, helps hair grow and reduces hair loss. The key, however, is always to ensure a constant ongoing supply. How convenient for Tati. So unfortunately, I could find no studies on glutathione in hair. All I found were studies on skin lightening using much higher doses. Again, not relevant to what she's selling. Alpha lipoic acid, 30 milligrams. It aid in the control oil production of the skin, helping to regulate Did I copy this correctly? Helping to regulating the oil glands while providing good color and tone to the skin. Well, I'm convinced. Okay, so apparently it can make your face less puffy and blotchy. The only in vivo studies I found involved topical treatments. And finally, we get back to biotin. And honestly, this is the one I expected to have some science behind it, because I think we've all heard about biotin and hair growth and nail growth and strong hair and strong nails. No. According to a 2017 review, biotin has no proven efficacy in hair and nail growth of healthy individuals. And that's because the majority of studies concerning biotin and hair loss have been conducted on people with congenital conditions that lead to biotin deficiency. So unless you have a diagnosed biotin deficiency, there's no reason to take biotin. So that's it. As you probably guessed, I have no interest in taking Halo Beauty at all. I would never take this product. I would never take any of these similar hair, nail, skin supplements. Again, many of the vitamins and minerals, you can get those from your diet, or you can get those from a simple, much cheaper multi. Even vegan multis are available. And in terms of the other ingredients, there's just very little evidence supporting the claims that Tati is making. Again, it just baffles me how people can feel comfortable charging people for these ingredients. Like, how do you even come up with an amount? Like 80 milligrams of pumpkin seed. Why 80 milligrams? How did you come up with that? It doesn't seem to be based on any evidence. Is it just like the amount that would fit in a supplement? Is that the reasoning? So the truth is, when it comes to hair, skin, nails, you probably already know how to take care of these things. It's basic stuff that we've heard 1,000 times before. When it comes to skin, wear your sunscreen, don't tan, use a gentle cleanser, moisturize, get enough sleep, drink water, eat a healthy diet. There's other stuff that may be effective too. Again, I mentioned the rosehip oil earlier, retinol, of course. But as the AAD says, don't try more than like one new product at a time. And if you have serious concerns, like serious cystic acne or hair loss or brittle nails, please see a doctor. Another thing I want to say is that I don't want it to seem like I'm criticizing the research here. I'm not. I know it sounds like I am when I say, oh, it's just a small study. When you're studying something new, of course, initial studies, of course, pilot studies are going to be small. That's the only way they're going to be funded, right? What I'm criticizing is the use of these studies by supplement companies, by people like Tati, as proof that their supplements work. And I'm sure many of these researchers would not be comfortable with that. Unfortunately, they have no control over what is done with their research, how people are using it in terms of their advertising. That's where we would want the FTC to step in, but they don't. I mean, it's pretty rare that they do, honestly. You have to be pretty aggressive with your wording to actually get a complaint. But yeah, I think the research is interesting, especially when it comes to something like vitiligo. The pictures, well, I'll show them here from the Catalase study, the topical treatment. It's just amazing. Vitiligo can be very emotionally devastating, socially stigmatizing. The thought that there could be a treatment that's so effective for people, that's awesome. And even stuff like hair loss, again, that can be really emotionally devastating for people. And the thought that we can have treatments that are really, really effective for people, that's awesome. So yeah, I'm excited to see where the research goes. It's pretty cool. Another thing I want to mention, as I briefly mentioned earlier, the whole supplement versus drug thing. So on the FAQ page, Tati answers the question, what's in your formula? Is it a drug? And she says, no, our formula does not contain any drugs. We are all natural with 20 of the best vitamins, minerals, herbs, and enzymes that are proven to help you have your best hair, skin, and nails. So again, while it's true that legally Halo Beauty is a supplement and not a drug, it doesn't mean that the ingredients in Halo Beauty can't impact you negatively. Again, we have saw palmetto and the potential to interact with birth control pills. Again, in theory, birth control pills containing estrogen. Also, I think anticoagulants. And even with vitamins and minerals, these are not innocuous things. There is a reason that many vitamins and minerals have tolerable upper limits, because at certain amounts, these things can negatively affect us, including biotin. In fact, the FDA just released a warning on biotin supplements because they might interfere with lab tests. Biotin in blood or other samples taken from patients who are ingesting high levels of biotin in dietary supplements can cause clinically significant incorrect lab test results. The FDA has seen an increase in the number of reported adverse events, including one death, related to biotin interference with lab tests. Biotin in patient samples can cause falsely high or falsely low results, depending on the test. Incorrect test results may lead to inappropriate patient management or misdiagnosis. For example, a falsely low result for troponin, a clinically important biomarker to aid in the diagnosis of heart attacks, may lead to a missed diagnosis and potentially serious clinical implications. The FDA has received a report that one patient taking high levels of biotin died following falsely low troponin test results when a troponin test known to have biotin interference was used. Many dietary supplements promoted for hair, skin, and nail benefits contain biotin levels up to 650 times the recommended daily intake of biotin. The recommended intake for biotin is 30 micrograms. A serving of Halo Beauty contains 100 times that amount. Talk to your doctor if you are currently taking biotin or are considering adding biotin or a supplement containing biotin to your diet. And remember, there's no evidence that biotin does anything for hair and nails in healthy people anyway. This is yet more proof that supplements like Halo Beauty are garbage. And I guess the final thing I'll say is that I found Tati's response to all of this really baffling. You know, the initial launch, it could be forgivable in the sense that I can understand that she was really excited about this. You know, ignore that the supplement I think is bullshit. She obviously was really excited about this, and I can see that she kind of had tunnel vision maybe, and she didn't stop and think like, hey, my audience might be confused at best, pissed off at worst, that instead of releasing makeup, instead of releasing a moisturizer or something, or eye cream or something, I'm giving them a supplement. Like, they might be like, whoa, really turned off by that. And so maybe I should make a longer launch video and really go into detail about the ingredients and explain why I am doing this. But she didn't see that because, again, I think she was just so passionate about the product and didn't really take a step back and think how people would take it. And that's okay. We all make mistakes. But then to put out the follow-up, the very long follow-up video where she seems to spend most of the time focusing on the haters, you know, she doesn't say haters, but people just being dicks, like people, I think, going after her personally, going after her mom, stuff like that. I read a lot of comments for people. I didn't even see any of that. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm sure it did. But to spend so much time focusing on the minority, when the majority of people who were criticizing Halo Beauty were criticizing Halo Beauty, were concerned about saw palmetto, were concerned about the lack of studies surrounding these ingredients, I just thought it was kind of a slap in the face to her audience to focus on the people who were just being dicks instead of the majority of people who were legitimately concerned. She did address the claims. I mean, she finally addresses saw palmetto like 30 minutes into the video. But even when she does, she still has this very condescending, very patronizing, scolding tone. And a lot of people said the same in the comments. It's not just me. And look, pot calling the kettle black. I know, I am the queen of smug. But I'm not trying to sell you something. I mean, I'm trying to get you to go vegan, but I'm not asking you for money. I mean, I do have a Patreon, but it's not the same thing, damn it. I'm not selling you a freaking supplement. Point is, I expected a video just, number one, an apology, just saying, hey, I know the launch video wasn't great. I'm sorry, I should have explained things more. This video, I'm going to explain things more. I'm going to answer all of your criticisms, you know, even mention the people who are being dicks. Like, fine, say, hey, that's not cool. Like, that's fine. But again, to spend so much time on it and to have that scolding tone like the entire video, I don't know. And then for the supplement to be garbage, in my opinion, in the sense that there is so little evidence behind any of this, it's salt in the wound. Not that I'm upset. I had no intention of buying this anyway. I mean, when I saw this, I thought the packaging was beautiful and I was like, oh, cool, it's vegan. I don't know. I'm just not interested in paying for the name. Like, I'm not interested in buying stuff that's more expensive just because it has someone's name on it. That said, I do want that Divine palette from Kat Von D. It's just, how does she have a palette themed around Divine? That is the most fabulous thing I've ever heard. It's not a palette that I'm at all interested in terms of the colors. It's not something that I would wear, but just the fact that it's Divine, the fact that you have names, like I think there's a John Waters one, or maybe it's just called Waters, Pink Flamingos, Female Trouble. There's a color called Female Trouble. Like, come on. So that's it. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Of course, comments down below. Let me know what you think about Halo Beauty, if you've bought it, if you're thinking about buying it. If you have any more insight, you know, again, I'm not an expert in terms of anything relevant to any of this. It's certainly possible that there are some studies that I missed. So if you have any more insight, please let me know down below. And if you want to subscribe, that's super dope. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. Thank you again, and I will have a new video very soon.